Who wants to work for the man? Underpaid, underappreciated, unable to control your own destiny. I take people out of the rat race and make them their own boss. My name is Dennis Mulgannon. I've been buying and selling small businesses for 25 years. From cupcake shops to locksmiths to laundromats. I've built companies with over $250 million in annual sales and created over 5,000 jobs. People ask me if I have an MBA. I tell them, yeah, a massive bank account. This is Be Your Own Boss. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to BYOB and another podcast episode. As promised, I said we would come out to the ranch that I own called River Rock Ranch, but it's really better known as Little Fenway West, which is an exact replica of Fenway Park in Boston, Massachusetts, but it's a wiffle ball field. So it's 25% the size, and we hold charity events up here. And we also ended up, as spoken before, I'm kind of a big collector of baseball memorabilia, and we're in my barn. And we'll show you some video later, just a quick clip so you can get a better grasp of it, but you can see part of the collection behind, and we're actually sitting at a 1960s mid-century modern bar here. And of course, you guys all by now know Sean Hansen, my associate here, and we're going to talk today. You know, I always say, you know, are you an entrepreneur or are you a full of manure? And really the truth of the matter is that, you know, people ask me, they go, well, I mean, are people born entrepreneurs or are people made to be entrepreneurs? And the truth of the matter is it's both. It really is. It's, you know, there are people that, like myself, you know, humble beginnings, single mom, raised 4 babies by herself, you know, was never afraid of being poor. Didn't know anything else, and was just born that way. I mean, I just, you know, did it my way. I am quoting Sinatra here now, but at the end of the day, that's my truth, right? But not everybody's like me, and I get that. And I'm not saying that's a better way to be or less desirable way to be, but the fact of the matter is, entrepreneurialism is used in way too of a narrow term, and that, you know, we think of the Silicon Valley startup guy or gal, and they're spending their entire 100 hours a week and going through that startup process, and then you hear they're a gazillionaire 5 years later. That's not the reality. What we're really talking about here is small business ownership, and there's a lot of ways to get there, a lot. And as you know, my background's in franchising, but that's not the only way to get there, and I really want to explore that a lot deeper in this episode about what your options are and how to be able to get there. Because fact of the matter is, for the most part, most people can own a small business. You don't have to go through the startup struggles. You don't have to, take the risk of losing everything you own, losing your family due to failure. You know, the options are, as discussed before, buying an existing business, buying a franchise, investing in a franchise. There's just a lot of options, and we want to explore that today. Fair enough, Sean?
Sounds great. I'm just happy that I'm at bar number 4 of Mulgannon. So we did the rotation up to the ranch. You got a couple at your house, a couple up here. So it is BYOB. So I highlight that. But I do love the fact that we talked about it going into this and the different kinds of entrepreneurs. But again, going back to the title, right? It's be your own boss, right? Seizing that opportunity, building something beyond that W-2, something that can be an asset that you pass on to your family and can grow, frankly, beyond you. So, one of the things that also we talked, and you were just highlighting it, is the fact that, you hear these stories about these folks that are just working nights, weekends, 120-hour weeks, and just grinding it out, and they lose relationships. They take too much Percocet or booze or other things to numb themselves sometimes.
Well, and it doesn't have to be that way. I think a lot of people, that's what they consider entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship has a lot of different, flavors, if you will, to it. And again, there are those folks that will risk it all and take that chance and quite possibly not make it. And then, they dust themselves off and they get back up, and guess what? They're not risk adverse, and that's me. And I failed at this. So the way to really look at this is, some type of roadmap. And it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, this is exploratory, and that's what we really want to be able to start, giving you information and providing resources through the interviews that we're going to do with legitimate folks, not people, with Pollyanna. They're going to talk about the realities of what small business ownership is versus, working for the man and staying as a W-2. But, you're going to have the opportunity to learn how to vet an existing business, work with a business broker who's legit, has been legitimized by us, and can really, take you to that promised land if you want to buy an existing business that has cash flow. Because that tends to be sometimes a little bit bigger of an investment, right? Because you're buying, you're buying EBITDA, and which is, the net cash flow of the business. And then there's also, of course, franchising, my world, where, looking at what the market opportunity is in different verticals, different, whether it's food or whether it's a service company or whatever it is, and really vetting those opportunities to really understand if it's a good fit for you from an economic standpoint, from a capital investment standpoint, and, always most important to me, from a lifestyle. Because I think that's what you should be chasing here, is to create a better lifestyle for you and your family. That should be your end run. That should be the goal. And if you're so lucky and you build up a great business and you have the ability to exit and sell it one day, that's fantastic too. Or, a lot of people that I work with, they want to pass it down, they want it to be a family business. They want a legacy business and pass it down to, their children. And that's wonderful too. I get that.
Yeah, and we always highlight that sometimes there is that entrepreneur that has built up the systems and the processes, and this is for you too, that maybe it's something to scale and talk to us about, see if it's something that is, say, franchisable and scalable, licensable, all those different kinds of options. So I think the other key thing that, in addition to the tour of the Mulgannon bars, I really talk about sort of a 1,000-day plan, right? And so as you and I are here at the table looking out, in our first couple episodes and launching, what do we want to do to help folks and help them build their own, really, 3-year plan? And I think that somebody, actually, I think like Andy Frisella, he really highlighted that if you set a 1,000-day plan, you can accomplish anything. Whether it's me, weight loss and getting in shape, being a better parent, you can really transform your life and what you're doing in 1,000 days. So that's one of the things that we're going to really help people map out. And
that's part of what, we're developing within we're building a new website right now that's going to really help you track your progress as you go through it and really help you. You guys have probably heard of DISC. It's an analysis of your personality and things like that. Well, we have our own variation of that we're constructing and building. And, it's going to be very honest to you in where we think that you should go in terms of what type of business, based on your capital, based on your needs, based on your time, because sometimes, a business can be, I'm not a big fan, as I've discussed before, of hobby businesses, but I sure like side businesses. I like where somebody has, they have the great job, but maybe it's not, it's not satisfactory enough for their life, and they're looking at doing something else, and maybe it's transitional down the road to get out of working for the man. And, we'll help you find a business like that. I mean, the key for us is to really, I guess it's mentoring you to get you to where you've taken away a lot of the risk. Fair enough? We get rid of, we've done this so much that we get the risk part. And not just your personal risk, but the risk of not analyzing a business or an opportunity correctly. And we're going to provide that information at no charge on when we revise the website, and we're going to take you through each of the steps. And if you want to call it 1,000 days, if it takes you 1,000 days to end up...
Well, I'm saying cash flow positive ROI, like you reach your destination in 1,000 days. Not, if you're planning for 1,000 days, you might as well go to the beach and hang out on a hammock for 1,000 days. But we're talking about execution.
Nothing wrong with that either.
No, this is true. But no, it's...
No, when I say 1,000 days, though, I'm saying that everybody's roadmap is going to be different.
True.
Some people, there's immediacy. They've been riffed. They can't get a job, and they've got to make a decision. What I don't want them to do is make a rash decision.
True.
I want to give them, experience and have them, be able to make a much more informed decision because I've done it so many times. So if you think about it, over 1,000 people put into my franchise systems over the last 25, 30 years, I've probably spoken and worked with 20,000 people.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not like I've only worked with 1,000. Those are 1,000 that made it across the finish line. I've got 19,000 that didn't. And that's okay too. They might have ended up buying another brand, they got a job or whatever. But my goal here, just very transparent, is to take all the bullshit out there, there's so much of it, and get that funnel down where you can make an intelligent decision on what business to invest in, keep your job, don't keep your job, and that's the whole goal here, for me at least.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think good point and catch on that 1,000 days is that some people really crawl, walk, run, and
sprint. There are people they have to sprint out of desperation.
Oh,
too.
yeah. I've got a gentleman I've been, working with for 6-7 months with, looking at one of our brands, and which is great. Run at his pace.
Right.
And in the meantime, we've had, 15 open since I first talked to him. So, people run it at their own pace. And that's what I think that when we talk about that 1,000 days, it's helping you try to encapsulate 30 plus years of knowledge and experience and success and failures, et cetera, so that you can execute this plan at your pace, whether it's the legal review, the financial review, all those key things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I tell people when they're buying a business, I say, listen, it's like getting married. You got to date first, right? You got to figure out if it's a great fit. Everybody's on their best behavior on that first date, but that discovery process is just absolutely critical. And we're going to put structure behind that for you and help you to get to, and then you'll get to a point, and I think it's a lot of self-discovery to a certain extent. It's like, no, not for me. Great, more power to you. We're glad you listened. Continue to listen to the podcast if you'd like. But then there's going to be the folks that are going to say, you know what? Yeah, I like where they've taken that funnel, and I like where I'm at. And then we can really bring you into, a lot of our partners that can really help you, who are the best of the best. They've been vetted by me personally, every single one of them. And, they can really take you to that next step of helping you identify an existing business, a franchise opportunity, whatever it turns out to be. Or if inevitably, if it's you have a business, you're a small business owner, and you want to franchise it, you're going to be working with me directly. Because that's my passion is birthing new brands, taking a single unit or multiple unit in geography and blowing it up across the country and sometimes the world.
So I want to digress, but when we come back, sort of talk about, we already segmented out what's an entrepreneur versus small business owner, and talk about different types of small business owners, from the hustle to the investor to semi-absentee and full-time. But I'm sitting here staring at an empty decanter. So I'm staring at a lot of things around the barn here, the museum, but what have you got here today?
Well, this piece right here, this decanter, crystal decanter, was given to Johnny Bench, the Hall of Fame Cincinnati Reds catcher. I was actually able to acquire it directly from Johnny, and it was an award given to him for the 1975 All-Star Game. So, and there's a plaque on it here and so forth. And yeah, the collection, which we'll give you guys a little bit more information. You non-baseball fans, we won't bore you too much, but there's some other interesting things in the museum that are non-baseball too, like a World War II foosball table, Italy versus France. It's a pretty cool piece. And anyways, we'll give you a little bit of that stuff a little bit later, but we're at break time here. We got to do a break, so we will be back in just a couple of minutes.
Awesome.
All right.
All right, and we're back. So thanks for going into the break, Dennis. We're talking a little bit about different types of businesses, but coming out of it, really thinking about the types of business owners and this BOA. What is BOA?
Well, before BOA, let's talk about how we were freezing our asses off.
This is true.
When we rebuilt this, it's a hexagon building, and it's 2,000 square feet, and we tore it down to the studs and rebuilt it, and we over-insulated it for a number of reasons, to protect the collection that's in here and all that good stuff, but also temperature, right? this thing, you freeze your ass off in here. And so we just turned on the heaters. I took off my jacket because I was quite literally freezing my ass off, and that's why I was wearing the Red Sox jacket. But anyways, BOA.
No, that's true. Well, real quick, I mean, it was literally an ice box. And we're up in really close to a town called Placerville, which is, and we talk about entrepreneurship, this is where they first found gold in California. So I think that this was like one of the original ice storage or ice boxes back then.
Well, this property was actually part of one of the Pony Expresses that came through here. But more importantly, Placerville is known today still as Hangman's Town.
Hangtown.
Hangtown, yeah.
Yeah, good old Hangtown.
Yeah. And you can research that. You Google it, and you'll see what they're talking about. But, yeah, all the bad guys in the 19th century got hung here, so at least up in Northern California. So.
But, yeah, so speaking of, those guys that were, discovered gold, probably only about 3 miles as a crow flies up here at Sutter's Mill. And, but who made the money? It was the picks and shovels.
Always the guy selling the stuff to the folks trying to be an entrepreneur. And, hey, that was a good segue.
Once in a while.
That was good. Oh, my God. Well, fist pump there. Hey, social distancing. Anyways.
I already got it, man. I'm on the other side of the corona.
Go team. All right, so BOA. Let's talk about BOA. So it's not like a feather boa. If you like wearing feather boas, good for you. I mean, good for you. But this is about more like boa constrictor. There's all these disc profiles and all these corporate profiling systems and assessment systems.
I like as he referred to it as we're talking Briggs and Stratton. I'm like, no, Myers-Briggs is a profile assessment I probably did like 15 times in my corporate world. Briggs and Stratton is my lawnmower engine. But
okay, so I screwed up on that one. I completely did that on purpose.
But then we had Strength Finder, Hexaco, values, and blah, blah, blah. Motives.
So non-corporate guy didn't even know what those were. And they're assessment systems. And it's like, for me, I always assess people mano a mano, as one-on-one, right? I mean, I don't need no, profiling system. But because we're so, I don't know how you want to call it. I'm not going to say too busy. But what we wanted to do was to be able to create a system, an online system, to assess people in terms of, small business ownership. So BOA was born. And BOA is business ownership assessment, quite simply. And, there's probably some similarities, I'm going to guess, to some of the corporate stuff. But at the end of the day, this is my system of, talking to 20,000 people, over, 25 years who wanted to get into small business ownership. And, I kind of know how to kind of figure it out and where they need to be. And sometimes it's all, sometimes it's no. Yeah, you probably shouldn't own a small business. So we've developed this, and it's proprietary to us. And you're going to have a chance, and it's all free. You're going to have a chance to go to the website and go through the assessment process. And, it's something that you can opt out at any time. We don't care. I mean, if you're serious about owning a small business, you're going to stay in the game. If you're not and you're a tire kicker, you're going to self-eliminate. And that's okay with us. We don't, we're here to help people that really want to own a small business.
Yeah, and I think my key point is I've seen the growth and evolution of this BOA system is, when I did, the Strength Finder, Disc Profile, or Myers-Briggs, et cetera, all those tended to be, like in my corporate world, about how am I going to be as a manager? How am I as a team player? How are my peers in my corporate world going to engage with me? Versus this is very much about becoming a small business owner. And what skills do you bring? Go ahead.
Well, no, yeah, and that's a great point. It's basically saying, listen, you can be. It's just where should you be in the ownership spectrum, right? I mean, it's more that. So, created quadrants. I know that's a great corporate term. And, the quadrants.
Dennis is a big SWAT guy. He loves SWAT. Yeah. All right, now we talked about
Let's
that.
Go back to KISS principle. Yeah, I'm a KISS principle guy. But, there's really 4 ownership opportunities in the marketplace. And what BOA is going to do is BOA is going to help us tell you where we think you fit.
We'll tell you where right?
that?
You're going to do the assessment, right? So, like, where do we map you? So it's really looking internally.
Well, then let's start with number one. Let's start with the first quadrant, which is I don't know where that quadrant's going to be, but it's the startup guy. It's the couch surfer. It's the guy that leverages to his last penny. It's the guy that does family, friends, and neighbors fundraising. It's the guy that just believes in himself so much, whether the market believes in you or not. I'm going to go balls to the walls. I'm going to go, pedal to the metal. I'm going to just go for it.
So that's sort of your, like, entrepreneur, that definition, right? They're that quadrant that's so far out there on the right, they can see sort of tunnel vision. That's all they can do, and they're going to go make it.
And it's the smallest percentage of everyone.
It's true.
And I get that. We're born and we go to school to be risk adverse. And so I was, born and raised not to be risk adverse. But, we all don't have that in ourselves. And, I've got to remind everybody, I've gone through the failure side of this. So that quadrant is probably, it's way less than 1%, I'm going to say, of the population. And I don't know, I'm just making this up, but based on people that I talk to, who have started companies and built successful companies, and it's a very small percentage. But the great thing is the other three parts of the quadrant are where, most people fit, and that's awesome. And that's systems and processes and market opportunity and being able to, have a better opportunity to succeed than I did just based on a guy who was just, didn't care. I'm just going to go do it. I believe in my idea, and I'm going to, run it over. And, if I'm homeless, which I've been. So, let's talk about that. So, one of probably the most common person or, prospective small business owner is somebody that's, been RIF'd, reduction in force. I love those corporate terms. Or the person that, is, moved, their family 5 times, didn't see their kids' soccer games, and, they want a better quality of life. And I get that, trust me. I mean, the toughest part of failing, but the best part of failing was I still controlled my time. So that was, if I'm going to say I got a benefit out of it in life, maybe it wasn't economic. It definitely wasn't economic at the time. But I still, I was able to see my family all the time. And as I've said before, I have 4 kids, and, ages 30, 28, 13, 11. And, I adore them, and that's what I wake up in the morning to do first, is be a dad. So it's the most important thing to me in my life. So the rift, the take this job and shove it, corporate person, and the latter of the two being, hey, I've built up a nest egg and I can stick my middle finger up to the man, i.e. corporate America, and walk away. And, we're really good at helping you. We're really good on both of those sides. The riff where, that's probably not the best way to say it, but the person that can't get a job, they're whatever age they are and they've been in their industry, and it's just the job's not available. It's just
right, and we talked about that on our last episode, really, people that are, these crazy pandemic times, going through furloughs, and started off as a furlough, and that job's not coming back, right? Or, just had big dramatic, hey, think if you were, 2 years ago, C-suite at JCPenney, Macy's, oil and gas.
Payless Shoe Source.
Yeah, I mean,
Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah, I was talking to a guy the other day who, 30 years oil and gas, lives in Texas, and he talked about the time, I think in June 2020, when gas prices went negative, or per barrel of oil.
Right.
Like, wow. So that, when we talk about that reduction in force, is like, it's gone. So, but that's really that's sort of all in, right? I'm used to really performing, executing. I can execute at a high level, but I'm going to go all in, and we talk burn all the other ships and really focus and grow something.
Well, but that's part of, BOA is money and time, right?
Yeah.
Right? Because, you got to find the balance of that. What's going to be my contribution to running a small business, and then what's going to be my investment, right? And listen, it's different for everybody. Some people are going to be, hey, I've got $500 and I want to go figure out how to be a small business owner.
Cool.
And that's much more entrepreneurial, right? And then there's people that have, $500,000 they can blow on a small business and still not get hurt if it doesn't make it. Well, that's a broad spectrum. And the thing that we want to be able to do, is help that $500 person and help that $500,000 person. We really do. I mean, because there are opportunities for everybody, and they really are. But, because if I always tell people, look, if you ain't got money, you need to buy time to pay the bills. So, and I've been in that position.
Oh, it's always time and money. Absolutely. And I trade money for time and time for money all the time.
All the time.
So we talked about sort of that entrepreneur, the all-in, and then the other quadrant, sort of that investor.
So
right?
we got two more quadrants. And again, we're not going to define it super specific today, but we're going to give you broad strokes on you're going to fit into one of these, or maybe you're a hybrid of two of them. The other one is the semi-passive side, and that's, hey, I went to medical school. I've got a great practice, and I'm reasonably happy, but I need diversification. I want to own a small business, always have. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be a small business owner. And so that's like, investing in a laundromat or a storage unit or a salon suites type business. Those types of businesses are great for them because it's more of a, nothing's ever passive, trust me, in owning a small business, but it definitely is a reduction where they can find work, small business ownership, life balance. I like that, those three in a row.
Yeah, and I think that as we talked about it, is nobody, you might fit squarely in the middle of one of these quadrants, but there's also that hybrid, because you can sort of also look at that other quadrant, which is really sort of the side hustle, right? And a lot of people that frankly are maybe high net worth, sort of that investor, semi-absentee thing, maybe it really is sort of a side hustle-ish thing, and that sort of quadrant can be sort of a pillar/quadrant. So what are those folks?
Well, and that's, a lot of times that's, I need to supplement my income. I need to figure something out. And there were a lot of businesses, if we think about it, and I'm dating myself here, but like Shackley, Amway, those were all side hustles. Somebody had a job and it wasn't paying the bills, and, those are definitely MLMs. Much more so, I got to take that back.
Yeah, take that one back.
Because Shackley and Amway weren't MLMs. But there's a lot of MLM opportunities out there. Not as much in the 80s, 90s. There were a ton more. But, those generally don't pan out. But, if you got to supplement your income, Uber's great. I mean, Uber's wonderful. Lyft, Instacart. Any of those things.
Yeah, we briefly discussed on a prior episode, friends of mine launched this Club Nirvana. It's THC distribution, and it is definitely not MLM, definitely more of a side hustle, though if I had too much THC, I think I'd be a side sleeper than a hustle, but there are opportunities like that. Keep your day job.
Yeah, keep the day job, work, mornings, evenings, whatever available time you have, and supplement your income. And those are great opportunities. And there are small businesses that afford that opportunity too. And, we want to explore that. Again, we're not trying to speak to people that necessarily have, super high net worths and liquidity and capital to invest. We want to be able to figure out how to help people that, at the end of the day, to be quite, honest, we're me, very humble beginnings and, figured it out and failed a number of times. But the key for me, for you, is not to let you fail. Again, I've said it before, live vicariously through me. I mean, I'm sure there's some mistakes I haven't made yet, but I don't know what they are. So
Your wife will tell you.
Including my ex-wife. Yes, 2 times in. But at the end of the day, we're seriously, we're trying to become like this great resource, transparency, wear it on our sleeves, as I try to wear everything on my sleeve in life. I try not to BS anybody, even if it hurts, and somebody doesn't want to hear it, ask my kids, because that's how I am with them. But that's what we're trying to do. So my suggestion, and Sean, you might have some closing comments, but
Well, I want to peel it back.
do the beer. We got to do the beer. We're doing Coors Light today.
We have Blue Rockies today, so
Yes,
we're happy.
we didn't line up one of our craft breweries, so these cans are amazing. I've never had Coors Light in a can like this. Maybe some of you have, but
I have. I mean, as long as the mountains are blue, I'm a happy guy. So I'm going to take you real quick into BOA. So you talked a little bit about time, money, quadrants. What are the other key elements that we're helping people ascertain about themselves and identify by going through this? And really the call to action is going to be go to either one of our 2 homes, right? You've got DennisMulgannon.com or franchisescale.com, and both of those are going to help you. DennisMulgannon.com is more about podcasts, about social media. Franchise Scale is certainly really our home to grow brands, but there's no wrong door. Come in, talk to us.
You can go back and forth.
Yeah, but we've launched the BOA assessment, so we have our time, we have our money quadrant, and then other key aspects that we're looking at to help identify it.
Well, I mean, we have to do BOA to be able to get to the quadrant.
Correct.
Right? I mean, there's a process here. So we need to understand, what your skills are, what your abilities are, and sometimes what your passion is. I mean, we don't want you investing in a business where there's no passion. I talked about my hobby business as a collector, that I kept everything. So I had great inventory, but I just wouldn't sell anything. So, but passion's good too. I mean, it can help drive it, right? I mean, it can.
So it's really the 3rd and 4th dimensions, right? Our skills and ability and passion bring more dimensional aspects into our BOA assessment.
Well, but part of BOA also is going to understand net worth. We're going to ask the question. We're going to say, hey, what's your liquidity? What's your current income? What's your replacement income? What are your goals? We're going to really understand the nuts and bolts of you.
Yeah, where do you want to, where are you right now? Like if you're, in the middle of Montana, a tiny population of 10,000 people, that's going to definitely steer us in, helping you pick something that's very different from somebody that's, like in our backyard.
But if you're in Chicago and you've had a successful IT career and you're looking to diversify out of IT and you have, you've built up a nest egg, we're going to direct you somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to do. We're going to take you to, there's going to be, again, zero BS. We're going to, let me do the trademark, no BS. And we're going to take you where you should go appropriately.
And help open your eyes to that.
Yeah.
See what's out there.
It's education. Again, I said it earlier in this podcast. I said it's like getting married. You got a date, you got to figure it all out. And if you're going to put a ring on it and get married, because it's a big decision. I mean, this is a monster decision. It's your life. So, and I get that. I mean, I've gotten that over 1,000 times with all my franchisees. So, so BOA is here to help you. It's free, and what we end up doing together, we do together. What we don't do together, we don't do together. But again, our sponsor is not Coors Light. It's the only thing I had here in the fridge.
Such a shame.
In the bar. Because I like to bring out good craft beers, but sorry, we got to get the beer budget better here.
This is true. We got to fix that. But I'm excited by it, and we've certainly taken a lot of people through it. We've vetted it, tested it, and encourage you to check out franchisescale.com or DennisMulgannon.com. Run through the assessment, and then and certainly you're going to score yourself. You're going to be able to save your results, and you can choose to frankly submit them to us. Right? Do you want us to connect you with one of Dennis's trusted associates that can take you further in the journey? Do you want to meet with us directly, get more coaching, advanced support, etc.? But it's going to help you really profile, see what could be a good fit, what's the right path. And then the other thing is, don't forget, people change quadrants. So where you are today might not be where you're going to be in 30, 60, 90 days or 2 years from now. That person that might be, hey, I'm doing sort of side hustle, driving good revenue today, might run into an economic downturn in their industry in a few months and say, hey, I'm going all in. And vice versa. That rock star all in person. I mean, Dennis has had tons of people come back 3-5 years later say, hey, what are you launching? What's up your sleeve? So look at where they are at that point.
Well, that's one of my most proud things about being in business is that I've had people invest in multiple brands of mine. And that's kind of cool because they know it's been vetted. They know, the market needs it, wants it, whatever. And that's critical. That's critical in the decision-making process. So, yeah, it's awesome. I've got people that invest in 2, 3, 4 of my brands, at times 4 of my different brands. And so, because there's a trust built, and I love that. So, it's cool stuff.
Cool. So, I think as we sort of wrap up this episode, a couple of key, obviously I said, call to action is go and do your own assessment. We'll share ours in coming episodes. We'll take a deeper dive in with some colors and some textures, going through their own assessments and what they're learning going through the process, and what we can do to help you and help others, really pursue that dream of being their own boss.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, cool. So really excited about our next guest here. And so we talked about BOA, talked about coming and checking out DennisMulgannon.com. Really pumped. We're going to start on that journey with our next guest and the power of looking into yourself and finding that right business fit.
Yeah. Excited to do it. Yeah.
Awesome.